Hey guys, it's Shadow the Gundam Man, and today I'm doing an album review. And if you follow the channel or if you watched a few of my recent videos, yesterday I did a review of Megadeth's Fatal Illusion, which is the third track off of their upcoming album Dystopia. It's a good song. So, yeah. But today we're going to be reviewing a bit of a different beast. Today I'm going to be reviewing Silence in the Snow by Trivium. Now, if you've been following the channel for a while, you will notice that I actually reviewed the song Silence in the Snow a while ago. Like a couple months ago, so. Yeah. I reviewed the track, gave it a pretty good review. I thought it was a really good track. And from then to now, they've released two more singles, Blind Leading the Blind and Until the World Goes Cold. Those are okay singles. Blind Leading the Blind is better than Until the World Goes Cold. Until the World Goes Cold is probably the weakest of the singles. And honestly, the album as a whole was a whole lot weaker than I thought it was going to be. But let's get into the tracks. Okay, I'm gonna tell you. The total length of the standard edition of the album, not the special edition, but the normal album, is 43 minutes and 13 seconds. The special edition is 52 minutes 57 seconds because it has two extra songs that I have not listened to. I will listen to those songs and do separate song reviews for them. But track 1 on the album is you open up with Snowfall, which is by Ihsahn or something like that. I-H-S-H-N. I-H-S-A-H-N. Ihsahn or Ihsahn or something like that. It's a minute 28 seconds long. It's an intro to the album. I don't think there's any guitar or any normal instruments in there. It's just Ihsahn doing his thing. So minute 28 seconds. That leads into Silence in the Snow, the first song on the album, and of course the title track, which is 3 minutes 40 seconds long. And if you remember from my review of the actual song Silence in the Snow, you'll remember that I said that Silence in the Snow was not recorded, but it was written back during the Shogun sessions, but they cut it from the final release, and they used it here. Well, it's a 3 minute 40 second long song. Honestly, it's one of the best songs on the album. Yeah, when your second song and your title track is one of the best songs on the album, you're probably going to run into some problems. But it's a really good song. Track 3, Blind Leading the Blind, 4 minutes 25 seconds long. It's a really good song. Continues in the vein of Silence in the Snow. You're not going to get any Trivium standard harsh vocals on this album. It's not happening. All the vocals are melodic singing. And it's not a problem. It's not a problem at all. Blind Leading the Blind, I meant to review that when it came out, but I didn't, obviously. So, I'll go over it a little bit now. I mean, it has a weird driving propulsion to it. Nowhere near like speed or thrash metal propulsion, so it's different kind of thing. It sounds like something that a band like Dio or Black Sabbath or Heaven and Hell would release if they were releasing stuff in the modern day, if they were doing more modern heavy metal styles. That's about what it would be. Which is kind of weird. Which it makes sense because Black Sabbath, Dio, Heaven and Hell, Rainbow are influences for this album. Blind Leading the Blind, it's a good song. Then you get to track 4, Dead and Gone, 3 minutes 46 seconds long. It's actually a really good song. It's kind of a love song sort of thing. The whole point of the song, I don't really remember, but I think the chorus went like something, the war still rages, will you fight when I'm gone? The war still rages, will you fight when I'm dead and gone? So, that kind of thing. It's an okay track. Then we get into the middle part of the album, tracks 5 through 9, which honestly is really where this album let me down. I knew, because I looked this up earlier, the track listing, I knew the first 3 songs were going to be good, because I've heard them. Track 4 was a pleasant surprise when I listened to the album. Tracks 5 through 9 just really, I didn't feel it. Honestly, a lot of these songs in this part of the album I couldn't speak about because I don't remember them. I just don't remember them. So, and that's, I guess that says a lot right there. I don't remember them. They're pretty forgettable. Excuse me. Track 5, The Ghost That's Haunting You, 4 minutes 9 seconds. I really just don't remember it all that well. What I do remember of it is just kind of boring. So that's really all I can say about that. It was just kind of a boring track. There's people who will like it, but I just really don't like that song. Same thing with track 6, Pull Me From the Void, and Pull Me From the Void is 3 minutes 53 seconds long. It was kind of boring, and I've heard a lot of people say it was kind of boring. It was just, that spirit just wasn't there. Track 7, Until the World Goes Cold, 5 minutes 21 seconds. The first time I listened to this song, before the album came out, I couldn't get through the entire song. I don't like it. It's not a bad song, but to me it just really doesn't fit on this album. It doesn't fit with this style because it sounds like they're taking more modern alt-rock and making it heavier, and it just doesn't work. But I did say its length, didn't I? If I didn't, it's 5 minutes 21 seconds long. Just making sure I said it. Track 8, Rise Above the Tides. Again, it's one of those just kind of boring. It's got some double bass drumming in there if I remember it correctly. But a few tracks on this album have that. It's 3 minutes 54 seconds long. If I didn't say that already, it's just kind of boring. And I saw a few people saying that every time they listen to this album, they're going to skip that song because it's just not good. Track 9, The Thing That's Killing Me, 3 minutes 30 seconds. At this point, when I got to this point in the album, I said the thing that's killing me is how boring this album is. And everybody who I've heard review this says it's boring, and it is kind of boring, yeah. So, the thing that's killing me, I honestly just don't remember it. It was that forgettable. I don't remember it. I can't say anything about it. Then we get into the last 2 songs on the album, which are actually really good. Track 10, Beneath the Sun, 3 minutes 56 seconds in length. I will say I don't really remember this song all that well. It's not because it's a bad song. It's because an even better song came after it. What I do remember the song, though, it's awesome. And something that if you're only going to listen to a few songs on this album, this is one of the songs you need to listen to. It's a really strong track. The last track on the normal version of the album, on the standard edition, track 11, Breathe in the Flames, 5 minutes, 11 seconds long. Double bass drumming. The vocals are a little bit more aggressive than the rest of the album, but they're not harsh vocals by any means. But he's got a little bit more power to them. It's got a thrash metal influence, and I've heard people say it's got a little bit of a black metal influence in the riffs. I wouldn't know because I don't listen to black metal. But yeah, Breathe in the Flames, one of my favorite songs on the album. Again, if you're only going to listen to a few songs from this album, Breathe in the Flames is one you need to listen to. So all in all, the album is a solid body of work, but that's all it feels like, is a body of work. I mean, it doesn't feel like they put any spirit to this thing at all. Once you get after track 4, before track 10, that entire middle part of the album just seems dull and lifeless. If you're only going to get, a few songs from this album, my advice is just cut half the album out. Cut tracks 5 through 9 out if you are only going to get a few songs from this album. There are people that will like them, but there's a lot of people who don't, so listen to the album before you buy it. Find a way to listen to it. If a friend of yours has it, or you can find it streaming somewhere, listen to it before you purchase it. And then, if you decide you only want a few songs, my recommendations are track 1, Snowfall, track 2, Silence in the Snow, track 3, Blind Leading the Blind, track 4, Dead and Gone, track 10, Beneath the Sun, and track 11, Breathe in the Flames. Those are 6 songs that are pretty much essential from this album that you need to have. But other than that, the rest of the album is forgettable. I don't really remember any of it. Trivium, I hate to use the term sellout, so I'm not. I don't feel like they're selling out. Not in the traditional sense. I don't feel like they're selling out to their fans to be more accessible to the public. I feel like they're selling out themselves. They're selling out the band. And they're selling themselves short. They really are. At this point, they're up the creek without a paddle. Trivium is very much the next Metallica. In the sense that they're going to take a more commercial direction, which is perfectly fine. But after a while, with the hardcore fans, it's going to get to the point where when Trivium wants to come back and do what they used to do, all the hardcore fans aren't going to pay attention to it. Well, all the hardcore fans, So I think Trivium is on the road to damaging their reputation as a heavy metal band. This is a solid album. It's not bad. Out of all the Trivium albums I've heard, it is probably the worst. But that's not because of the overall album and the feel of the album. That's just because half the album is basically filler. It's basically there to fill the album out, so it's more than 6 tracks. That's what it feels like. So, But on to high points of this album. I've heard people saying that the guitar solos, a lot of the solos are just there to be there. On the tracks that I recommended, the 6 tracks I recommended, 5 of them have solos because one of them is just the intro to the album. But the 5 tracks out of the 6 tracks I recommended, the 5 that have solos, the solos are really good. The riffing is really good. And that's something I will say. The riffing is really solid on the entire album. The guitar work on the album is pretty solid overall. Once you get to track 5, you do start to get the feel for how it works because they're just chugging a lot of the time for their riffs. There's nothing wrong with that. But there are a couple songs in this middle part of the album from tracks 5 to 9 where it sounds like they're using the exact same riff, the exact same pattern, and they're not doing anything different. And you'll hear a lot of people say that about this album, probably. Another high point. The drumming on this album is actually really good. Drummer Matt, I know his last name. I can know what it is. I don't know how to pronounce it. Matt Madiro or Matt Madiro. I'm gonna say Madiro because that's what I think it is. But his drumming is solid. I don't think he had any hand in the writing process of this album. I'm not sure. But the drum work is really solid. There are moments where you can hear the bass, and the bass is actually really good. Matt Heafy's vocals, and this is what's going to cause a lot of controversy with this album, is the fact that he is not really even doing the gruff singing anymore. He's not screaming, he's not doing gruff singing, he's singing very cleanly and melodically. And honestly, I like it. You have to remember, this is a guy who blew his voice out last year, in 2014 on tour. He's bounced back really well. Excuse me. But he's not quite there yet. Because there are songs on this album that are auto-tuned. I'm going to look it up right quick to see which one it is, because I don't remember. But there are a couple songs on this album that are auto-tuned. That may just be to enhance the effect, make it sound cooler. And maybe to enhance his vocals. I don't know. But I want to remember which songs on this album. And I just saw something, and it really states something I've been wanting to say about this album. This album has quite a few radio-friendly songs on it. Silence in the Snow, the title track, is actually, it's heavy, kinda. It's a heavy metal song, but it is kinda radio-oriented. Same thing with Blind Leading the Blind. Until the World Goes Cold, very radio-oriented. And this person who's said that, you know, like Rise Above the Tides is pretty radio friendly. A lot of the songs in this album have that radio feel to them. It's not really a big problem, but that is something to take note of. Okay, yeah. Dead and Gone and Until the World Goes Cold are auto-tuned. The vocals there are auto-tuned. There might be a couple other songs, but I don't remember them. But that's not really a problem. His singing is really good for a guy who blew his voice out on tour last year. The album is not bad, but the middle section, again, tracks 5 to 9, that is a very forgettable part of the album. And that's where you're going to get a lot of your radio-oriented stuff. A song like Until the World Goes Cold is very much a radio track. So, keep that in mind. Still, I don't think this is Trivium selling out. I think this is Trivium trying to do something different. It just hasn't really worked yet. But I think they'll find it. I think they'll find a way to do stuff like this. But for right now, this melodic style, you know, Heaven and Hell, Dio, Sabbath influenced style with more of a European and modern metal twist. Right now it is not working that well, but I think that will find their way. On Sputnik Music, it holds an average of 3.0 out of 5. There are people giving it, there are quite a few people giving it. Since Sputnik Music is a site where people submit their own reviews, and they average it out, apparently 3 people have given it a 1.5 out of 5. 7 have given it a 2. 10 have given it a 2.5. 14 have given it a 3. And 14 have given it a 3.5. 7 have given it a 4. 1 person has given it a 4.5. And 4 people have given it a 5. That averages out to about a 3.0 out of 5, a 3 out of 5. I'm going to say this album, since I rate out of 10, the album is 6.25. No, I can't even say that. This album is a 6.125. That's kind of hard to remember, isn't it? Okay, scratch that, yeah. This album is a 6.25 out of 10. It's a decent album, and half the album is really good. Half the album is forgettable, though, and drags the rest of the work down. Overall, this album is skippable. The album is decent at best and repetitive and boring and forgettable at worst. It's in the band's discography, it is one that if you skip this album based on the reviews, you're not really going to miss anything. Again, I recommend picking up tracks 1 through 4 and 10 and 11. I've heard that the 2 songs they left off the main version of the album that they put on the special edition, "Seesaw Your Fire" and "The Darkness of My Mind," have been are pretty good. I will listen to those, but we're talking about the normal version of the album. Tracks 1 through 4 and then 10 and 11 are good tracks that if you're only going to get a few songs off this album, those are the ones you need to get. If you can only get 1 song off this album, get "Breathing the Flames." But if you can get half the album, 1 through 4, and then 10 and 11, those are tracks you need to get. Yeah, 6.25 out of 10. Forgettable, but still a decent album. Half the album is really good. That's about all I have to say. This is Shadow Gunman. Have a good day. Peace.